Girls Rock Foundation.
All right, thank you so much for this opportunity. Thank you guys for even coming, sharing this afternoon, this evening, this morning, somewhere around the world. It is. So I am very honored to be here, and I'm so happy you're smiling today. I really am, because it takes a lot to smile. Yeah, it really does. I have a shirt on that says therapy, but I didn't study therapy. It's okay. That's what I studied. It's okay. But as I was sitting there, something came to me, and it was emotional bondage. And because emotional bondage is so dear to my heart, I can almost talk about that with my eyes closed. Because like she said, they tell you, don't say nothing, don't, you shouldn't say that. And so you are forced to hold every emotion on the inside. So guess what it does? It plays out in your immune system, it plays out in your mental, it plays out in your relationships, it plays out in your marriage. So whatever it is, and I came into a marriage with a lot of bags. Y'all heard the story? I'm sorry, y'all heard the song Bag Lady, You Gonna Hurt Your Bag? Y'all bags like that. I had about 22 bags. And it was okay with me carrying the bags because I got so accustomed to the weight of the bags. So no matter how many bags it was, I was okay with carrying those bags. I would just continue to add the bags, whatever it was. I just dealt with it because emotionally, we're always taught, don't worry about it, give it to God. God wasn't working fast enough for me. So I guess I just kept adding the bags, which we all do, and we won't be honest if we say, oh no, I just gave it to God, no, I gave it to him, I picked it back up, I gave it to him again, and I picked it back up. I think, I picked it up about 5 times. One thing I picked up about 5 times, and that was a relationship that I knew that was wrong, and I was being very abused in the relationship, but I kept being in the relationship. Guess what? Because I love him, and he loves me. Meanwhile, he's beating the crap out of me. He's making me skeptical in the community, but it was okay. I just put that bag on, and I just kept on going, just like some of us do, if we be honest. And emotionally, I became in bondage. I was in prison with my own emotions. And because I did not know how to tell anybody, because again, they're telling you, what goes on in the house stays in the house, and you shouldn't be out there doing that. You come from a good family. Okay, I came from a good family, but I've been beaten. I have emotions that I don't know where to place. They're coming out in different areas. And so when I got into a relationship, I didn't know how to relate, because I was always relating to the abused person more so than the healed person. And so the abused person always took precedence over the healed person. So everything I did, I would always say, oh, and don't you touch me, like I said, don't, and the man is looking at me like, well, what is wrong with you? Yeah. And so because I did not know how to express myself at the beginning and tell him, hey, listen, you're dealing with some damaged goods right here. So eventually, I had to put my big girl panties on and say, okay, you got to express yourself to this gentleman, because if not, you're going to this is a cycle. You're going to mess this up every time. And sometimes we self-sabotage things because we are fearful that we don't deserve the goodness of a relationship, or the goodness of what God has for us, what people in relationship, and oftentimes we don't know how to relate in the relationship. So I had to learn how to relate. So my emotional bondage that I carried from being rejected, not being accepted, but being abandoned, given away at birth, not knowing who, what, when, where, and how. And so all of that caused PTSD. So when someone's trying to love you, you don't know how to love. Hey, what? Because you had to try to figure out love and who was who while you were growing up, since you were 8 years old. Like, what's going on here? Does anybody, you love me for real, or you just love me for this? Or you love me for this, or you love me for this? And I had a warped sense of what love really was. And because of the emotional distress that I went through as a little girl, trying to figure out who I was, and things happen. Parents don't always tell you the truth about a lot of things, and so when you get older, you feel like, okay, I gotta figure this out. And so what God did for me, He blessed me so good. He allowed my parents, and I say this, and please don't take this wrong. He allowed, when I wanted to start finding out a lot of stuff, He allowed them to pass away. So I couldn't get I had to really depend on Him to heal me, because I was gonna go to my mom and say, well, what really happened at this point? Because I'm grown now. Tell me the truth. He said, no, I'm not gonna spare her, I'm gonna spare you, because I don't know why, that happened, or why she had to do what she had to do. But I'm gonna say that there was a good reason. And because my pain pushed me to a place called purpose, And so I wouldn't be sitting here to be able so strong to talk about it if I didn't have to walk through the journey of trying to figure out who I really am. So I was emotionally in bondage for 32 years. And so 32 years is a long time.
Yeah.
And so I was somebody's parent, so I vowed to make sure that my children knew everything, and I did not want my children, one thing I didn't want to do in my emotions is make sure my children didn't know who they really were. Because I didn't want them to start dating their cousins. And funny thing, my children went to school with one of their cousins, and so because the other side of the family was telling the truth about the matter that I had not even addressed with my kid, he came home and said, I think I have a cousin by the name of such and such. I said, you think you do? And he says, yes. I said, well, what's your cousin's name? Because now I'm getting nervous. Like, oh Lord, it's gonna happen. And so he told me, and he started giving me all the information. I was like, oh wow, he's accurate. Like, he said, Mom, they say you look just like her. And I do. Yeah. Because I did my investigation. I look just like her. I'm like, okay. I said, so listen, let me just talk to you for a minute. So my son's like, talk to me about what? Kids are just like, he just said to my cousin, I said, okay, you can't talk about this that I'm about to talk about until I give you permission. So long story short, they were in the classroom together. And they were getting ready to start football. And he was like, yeah, you look your mom looks like my mom. And so he said, well, what's your mom's name? She said, Vanessa. And what's your mom's name, Tootie? So he went home and asked his mom, do you know that name, Tootie? She said, oh yeah, that's my niece. So my son come back the next day and said, Mom, the lady said that you're her niece. I said, he said, what's his mom's name again? He said, I know the truth. But again, now I gotta deal with him. I said, what's the name? Yes. That is mine. Well, how is that your aunt? Now I got to go open up the doors. So now I got to him. He said, well, why did your mom decide that she was going to give you what she didn't want you? I don't know if she didn't want, so I'm just still trying to figure out how to tell a 15-year-old this, because now he wants to know, because now it's going to be where, do you want me?
Yeah.
Will you do that to me? So now he has to deal with that. So I had to tell him the story. It wasn't good, but I had to tell him the story. And he said, oh, Mom, I'm so sorry that you had to go through that. I said, yeah. I said, but it's okay now because it was a learning to make sure that I make very good decisions when I'm raising my kids, very good decisions when I'm talking to my kids, because it can come back to haunt them later on. What if it was that it was a girl that he was interested in that really was his cousin?
Right.
And things had started happening. Things happen.
Yeah.
They come and tell you a story, and I got to tell them you can't like her like that. What you mean I can't like her? Well, we already liked each other like that. No. I can't like her like that. And so it causes an effect later on. When we don't really deal with our emotions and deal with everything, because it keeps us in bondage. Had he not brought that to me, y'all, I probably would have never told my son on that level. What happened, because everybody was hush about everything. Meanwhile, I'm a whole grown adult, but still having to deal with what happened in my childhood that I had no say so in. It happened to me. I'm a product of it, and I thank God that He allowed me to live through it. Was it difficult? Yes, because when you hear different things, and when people tell you, oh, you were put on the side of the road, in the movies, I don't know if y'all ever seen, I'm sure y'all have seen some of these movies where they leave kids on the doorstep and ring the doorbell and they run. So they told me that's what happened to me. So for years I'm thinking, oh, they put me in a basket and left a note. I wonder what the note said. I'm glad she read the note, because what if it started raining out there? Crazy stuff. So emotionally, I'm playing all these movies in my own head. I'm not talking to anybody, so guess what I'm putting myself in? Emotional bondage. I never said anything to anybody about the stories and the plays and the movies that was going on in my head. Then they said, oh no, you was put on the side of the road on I-95, and then, they saw you on 95, they got you, and they took care of you. Never asked any questions about it, just assumed, okay, that's another story. Maybe they put me on 95 in a basket, because you see it on TV, you assume that it actually happened to you. And so when you deal with emotional bondage, and then when I started getting older, then I got into this relationship that was very abusive. I'm almost done. And it was mentally abusive, physically abusive. So I didn't know my worth in that particular place called bondage. Because emotionally, I don't feel like I'm worth anybody really like me. She cute, okay, that's all she is. Because she has no substance to her because he done took it all out. I mean, I'm 16 and 17 years old going through this. I didn't have to go through it, but I kept everything that was happening to me on the inside. You know, we don't really tell our parents because I really like this boy, and one day he's gonna stop beating me, and it never stopped. But I kept hiding it. I had really, really long hair. You know that. I mean, I had hair like down to here. And so, if y'all know Aaliyah, the singer, she used to wear her hair over her eyes. Because I wore it on my eyes, I had black eyes. You know, and I would always talk to my mom from the right side because she couldn't see the left side. I had managed that thing, my emotions. I had put myself in so much bondage. I knew how to maneuver in my abuse. Now, a lot of times we're sitting here and we know how to maneuver in our emotional bondage. We've not gone to therapy. We've not seek help because you have not found a safe place. And so I encourage you to find a safe place so you can totally get out of that emotional bondage. And it starts again in our childhood and it lingers over into our adulthood.